Coming up on Down Under EV Adventures. I've had my Atto 3 for 12 months. Yep, that's a year and it's gone by pretty quick. And I've done a lot of kilometers and done a lot of trips. Here's all my likes and dislikes of the Atto 3. Welcome back to Down Under EV Adventures, everyone. Thanks for joining me for the 1 year anniversary of my Atto 3. And on the whole, I'll say straight off the bat that it is a great car and I'm still enjoying it. Although it does have a few faults, which I do mention every time I do these little review videos. But on the whole, it's a pretty good car. Now, feel free to go ahead and skip to whatever chapter you like, because I'll divvy it up so you can just click ahead to whatever you like. Now, I bought this car about a year ago, around about the time that my wife bought hers. You can see hers there, it's a green one. And I did have a few little extras added, so I did have window tinting done. And I also had a tow bar fitted because, I do quite a lot of towing around town, not long distance. And I also had 4 Michelin e-Primacy EV specific tyres fitted because I wasn't real happy with the ones which came with it. Now, this review will be a mixture of the voiceover and me in real time. So we'll start off just by giving you a very quick look at the exterior of the car here, which I'll go into more detail shortly. So I do love the exterior of the car, and I do love these little dragon scales at the back there. Again, I'll point out, not everyone likes, but I do. Quality of the Atto is very good, so if you've got any doubts about that, go and have a look at one in more detail if you haven't already, and you will be impressed by the build quality. And I do like the interior. It's a little bit funky, but I quite like it, so kudos again to BYD for doing something. A little bit of a look at the doors there, which I do absolutely love as well. Now, I'll also point out, for those of you who are not aware, I bought this car as a demo with about 6,500 kilometers on it. Okay, let's join me now in real time. I think the wheel covers look nice there. I like these little highlights that they do, few little ones around the car. You've already seen the scales at the back and that design badge. Little grasshopper. Free grasshopper with my one. And this BYD badge looks pretty good at the front there. The lights I've already mentioned in previous videos. I think the lights are fantastic on the Atto. You can see it. I think it looks quite nice. The sleek styling on it. The shark fin antenna. The little spoiler there at the back, which has the rear light there. Just looks very nice. I've always liked the exterior of the car. Let's have a quick look, a little bit more detail inside. So I do like the doors. This is the handle if you're not already aware. And I think it's pretty good. And you can see these protectors which I bought, which it sort of matches the trim. I've got a few accessories like this one here in the middle which covers this bit. You can see it matches the trim there. So you can go back and have a look at my episode on the accessories that I bought, and that will give you a bit of a detailed look at it. And as you can see, the major thing I've done is I've put these sheepskin seat covers on here and on the steering wheel. And they're lovely and comfortable. They're beautifully cool when the weather's hot, and they're nice and warm when the weather's cold. So they work really well here, especially in the goldfields where it gets very warm, and we're heading into summer right now, so I'm really appreciating these. But then quickly back to the doors. Now, unfortunately, there's no space here, but you've got this little bit of an area here which I do carry a little bit of stuff in. Yeah, the guitar string's a bit of a novelty, but anyway, you've got your controls there. And then I do love these air vents. I think they're really nice, and the materials are pretty good, and I quite like the funky interior. It really grows on you, especially the doors. These big chunky handles here. Everything's good build quality. And one thing that you do get, obviously, with the Atto is you get some physical switches, which I love. I think it's a great idea, and I don't think that cars should be, getting rid of too many physical buttons. I don't think it really saves a lot of money, and, it just pisses customers off, and therefore I think they lose sales. I also like this stop-start button here, the lovely crystal on the inside of it. And I've got no issues with having a stop-start button as well. I don't get what the big deal is to not have that in any sort of car these days. I think a stop-start button is great. Anyway, I've just started the car up. You can see the Binnacle there, which perhaps could be a little bit bigger. But I notice on the C-Line 7, which is coming out next year in Australia, it's all integrated into the dash. Looks fantastic. Center screen there, which of course can rotate. So it's quite a nice place to be here. Now, some people have said the steering wheel is a little bit busy there. There is a lot of switches, but you learn them all very, very quickly, what they're used for. So all in all, the interior is pretty good. I quite like it. You can see there you've got some lights here, and these are the sunroof controllers there. Some handles there. So everything is pretty good. And an actual button to open the glove box. None of this silly doing it through the tablet. So I think it's pleasing to see that car makers are moving back towards having physical buttons. I think that's great. And one thing I mentioned, you do have like a little storage area under here, and there's some USB-C ports there as well. And I don't use the charger for the phone, but there is a phone charger under here which I never use. I just plug in the cable and do it that way, because it's actually quite a slow one. I think it's only about 5 watts from memory. So there you go, that's the interior of the front. And I use my car for work, so there's always a lot of stuff in here. Some of my battery equipment that I've got there. And as I'm filming this, you can see it's quite a sunny day here. We're heading into summer here in Australia, and my solar's doing quite well today. In fact, I'm going to put the car back on charge in a minute, because it's a great day to do that. Be able to get it to full later on today. And these little scuff plates that I bought, I think they were from Top BYD, and I really like them. I sort of got a little bit of a blue theme as well going on with the car, just to offset the white and grey. You can see I bought little blue valve caps as well. There's that little theme going. So if you do have a solar system, well, you'd be silly not to have an EV, because you can just pretty much top up. I would say most people could do 80 to 90% easily from their solar system, more if you had a battery. And mine's a universal one. I haven't got 3-phase here at this house. I am moving houses soon, and the house I'm going to does have 3-phase power, so that will be great, because it means if I ever upgrade to a different car, I'll be able to get a faster charging speed. And of course it's the universal one, so it's a type 2 here, but if you did have a different cable other than the type 2, well, you could just plug that into the universal port here. So yeah, the solar system is great. I will go and work out roughly how much money I think my wife and I have saved since we both bought EVs around about a year ago. So I just ran away and did some rough calculations, and I worked out that my wife and I have done around about 30,000 kilometers together in the last year or so. I've done a couple of long trips, and we did one long trip in my wife's car, but other than that it's mostly been around town. And I reckon we've probably saved between $5,000 and $6,000 in that time. That's by charging at home and saving a bit of money on longer trips. Okay, so we've got a 440 litre boot on the Atto 3, which I use quite a lot of it. So it's not a bad sort of boot size for this class of SUV, and as you can see, the seats fold down a bit there as well, which gives you more room. So I sort of fold mine down just to give me that ease of putting things in and out. And up here, just to close it, close and lock it. Now if you have a look here, I've put a frunk in. I have done an episode just about the frunk if you want to go back and have a look at that if you wanted one for your Atto 3. And I carry a Type 2 to Type 2, and this is just for the times, emergencies, when I'd have to use the AC charger at the charging network if the fast chargers happen to be down. I haven't had to use it yet, but I still think it's a good thing to have there in the frunk. It's a good place to put it. So there's quite a bit of space there inside the frunk, and you can go back and have a look at the episode and I'll tell you all about the frunk. Other than that, there's not really a lot you have to do maintenance wise. You just keep an eye on these levels. Of course you'll need to fill up the wiper reservoir. It's probably the thing you'll have to do the most of. The 12 volt battery's there. Now I haven't had any issues so far with the 12 volt battery, thankfully. Touch wood. But if you need to access it, it's fairly easy, even with this frunk. I don't know how long it'll last. Hopefully I'll get a little bit more usage out of it before I have to replace it. And that's pretty much it for the Atto 3. Just turn on the car and you can see since I've bought the car, I've done, or I should say the odometer has done 23,462, but I did buy the car as a demo, so I'll go and put on the screen. It was around about 6,000 or 7,000 Ks when I bought it. I'll work that out for you and you can see how many I've done in those 12 months. And while I'm here, I just thought I'd show you the cameras, which I think are excellent on the Atto 3. You can see that the quality is just really, really great. So they've done a fantastic job. You've even got that transparent one there. So I use this quite often. As I'm coming into my driveway, you can just press this switch here and it will turn on the cameras. You can see I'll just drive slowly. If you can see my little fence there, and I usually just go there to where the red line lines up with the fence, and then you'll never hit it. I know you've got the little parking sensors, but this is very useful if you want to be in a certain spot, like I do here in my driveway, in my garage. Okay, so let's get straight into things I don't like. So the dislikes of the Atto 3 after owning the car for a year. Some of them I discovered after just a few months. So unfortunately I'm not a fan of the software upgrades. In fact, I'm still running version 1.6. Now if you go back and look at my 3-month review, you'll see my wife has upgraded and some of the noises which I find really annoying. Now lane keeping is another thing which is not really great. I know it's not good on a lot of cars and it's something they need to work on. Frankly, I find it a little bit dangerous. So I've put in here a nice little useful thing which will tell you how to turn the lane keeping off, which unfortunately you need to do every time you turn on the car. Look at the lane keeping. So we have to go to the ADAS here to disable that. And it's the lane support system which is the one that's a bit of a pain. Now unfortunately it resets every time you do the ignition, so you have to then turn that off, then you have to press OK, then you have to get out of that to go back to home screen. So that's what you have to do to disable the lane keeping. Usually around town it's not an issue, it's more on a long trip. On the highway, especially the highway to Perth, has lines on either side and then it can be very annoying. The beeping is very loud, and I haven't found anything here in the menu where you can actually reduce the volume of that warning as well, you know, or mute it. I believe some of the Hyundais you can actually mute the warnings, which would be a great thing if you could do that. Unfortunately I haven't seen it yet on the Atto. Now luckily none of the software upgrades have, you know, introduced any features that I've been particularly interested in. So for those of you who are wondering, there are things like karaoke, I think, and Netflix or stuff like that, which none of that interests me. You know, a car for me is driving. I've got a mobile phone if I want to watch Netflix while I, you know, sit and charge the car or whatever, which I don't do anyway. I tend to film things or go for walks, things like that. But anyway, that's another story. You know, you can find out that information if you did want to get the upgrades, but they do come, like I said, with a host of annoying upgrades as well. So that's just something that you'll have to decide. You can backroll the upgrade. So if you did buy an Atto 3 and you wanted to run a previous version like I'm doing, you can do it. The service department should be able to help you if you wanted to run what I consider a more superior version of the car. Anyway, let's move on to other things that I don't like. I'm pleased to say there's not a lot. I have mentioned these before, but it would be nice if it was an all-wheel drive. It's only a front-wheel drive car. After having driven all-wheel drives pretty much for many decades, I want to make sure my next car is an all-wheel drive. And just space-wise, I could do with a little bit more space. But, hopefully my next EV will solve those two problems. Now let's move to the things that I really love about the Atto 3. So one thing I do like about the Atto 3 is even though it is an EV, you do have some ground clearance on the car. So it's 175 millimeters, and that means, you can do some sort of very light off-roading with it. You can certainly go down some dirt and gravel roads, provided of course it's not too muddy. So I think it's great that you can sort of take this car, slightly off-road. Obviously it's not a hardcore four-wheel drive, it's not a rock hopper, nothing like that. But I believe also on the snow it does quite well as well. So I have no issues with it here in the goldfields. It's great. You can just take it down a dirt track and it performs very well. The other things I like, which I'm pleased to see on the new C-Line 7 is continuing, physical buttons. So I am still a fan of physical buttons. They work well, there's no real need to change them, so why get rid of them? Now, you've also saw earlier on the Binnacle, so I do like the Binnacle that's on the car. I think it's great that you've got the speedometer just there and a few other useful features. It's really like a second tablet. And speaking of tablets, well, the tablet itself is excellent. You've already seen the cameras there, which are just brilliant. And all in all, the tablet is one of the better tablets in the EVs that I've looked at. So, Polestar, Tesla, they're all pretty good, but BYD is not far behind. So to sum up, it is a fantastic package still. Really, for the price point and what you get, it's a fantastic car. It definitely is a great first EV. And, for younger people as well, I think they would like it. They probably might even not mind the upgrades with some of the annoying noises. Maybe they don't annoy younger people as much, I don't know. Let me know out there what you think. But other than that, it is still a great package for the price. And, I think BYD have got some interesting cars. They seem to be a company that's really, trying to push the boundaries, which I think is, generally good. So yeah, it's a great car. I'm still happy with it. I can live with the things I don't like for a little while longer. But I've made no secret on this channel that I will be upgrading to a different EV, and it's unlikely that I would get another Atto simply because of those things I mentioned. Alright, anyway, that wraps up the 12-month review of the Atto 3. I hope you got something out of it there watching. I appreciate you joining me out there. Thank you very much again. And as usual, take good care there out on the road. We have got some terrific content coming up, some funny episodes coming up, and a few other interesting things. So look forward to seeing you very soon. And we'll leave you as always with Zoey. Bye for now.